So lockdown has meant that a lot of women had to bear the brunt and the financial brunt of looking after their families. We're cooking, we're cleaning, we're caring for the family, and we're balancing our careers. So our finances will be taking a knock, right? So how do we deal with these financial setbacks? And that's what we're going to be talking about today on this particular episode of The Sit Down. Join me. Financial setbacks inevitably happen at some point in our lives, whether we like it or not. And if you find yourself dealing with a retrenchment, a costly life transition, high medical costs, or even other setbacks, do stick around for us to have this conversation with Eunice Sibiya, who is an independent financial coach and former consumer education manager at F&B. Eunice has an extensive background in the financial industry with over 30 years of experience. Thanks, Eunice, for joining us today. Welcome to The Sit Down.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I mean, we can never talk enough about the financial setbacks we've been through, that we've seen our moms go through,
Yes.
we've seen our grandmothers go through, that they still survived, right? But I want us to talk today about, let's start off with, how do you understand the terminology of living within our means? We hear this thrown around quite often. But what is the understanding of living within our means? So we have a foundation for the conversation we're about to have.
The understanding should be that we should live within or actually below our income. That's where the bar is. So whatever the amount of income you have, your expenses should be less than that. So you have room for mishaps. You have room to save and invest. You have room to breathe. Financially.
And what is then the role of us as women doing these financial audits to determine whether or not we are living within these means?
Simple answer in finances, budgeting. That's the only tool, that's the only barometer that will gauge the compass, that will tell you whether you're going to the right direction, how far you are into your income, in terms of you taking taking care of your expenses. So budgeting is the only tool that helps you navigate, helps you channel the money where it's supposed to be, helps you control, and helps you monitor.
And it seems quite daunting, right, when we talk about budgeting and doing this audit to determine whether I'm within my means or not. The higher or more these expenses go, the more demand it has on us,
Yes.
or the higher we earn, the more expenses we take on. What are some of the most common financial setbacks we get ourselves into as women?
So there's generically speaking, but I think right now if we can hone it into where we are now with the lockdown. Pre-lockdown, we would take care of transport money, kids going to school, school fees, groceries, you know, and the usual, which was the norm at the time. Lockdown came. Hit us 10-0, unprepared. We did not even know what is it, and therefore what is expected of us. So when most people lost their jobs or we started working from home, that brought in a new dynamic. The whole family is at home now. No school, no work. So expenses took a different shift, meaning we needed now to look at our finances and have a financial reshuffling because the costs were now at home, as opposed to what we were used to. Groceries, in 2 weeks, the cupboards are empty. Utilities have gone up because we use a lot of electricity at home, a lot of water, food vanishes in the house, data is used, a whole lot of it.
You're still paying off the car that
You're
is sitting in the
car
garage.
that's in the garage. Cars that are parked in the garage. You're paying off a whole lot of stuff that, you know, was catered for the norm, but the norm has shifted. So we now have to deal with a new norm. And in most families, because we are not used to this actual sit down of assessing things, just let alone about finances, but just a normal conversation of, hey, guys, what is happening now? Therefore, how do we need to address these things? Most families don't have those family meetings. Even the discussions, we shy away from them because when we have almost like a family meeting,
You think it's something major?
Major and too serious, and it has an
And
agenda, daunting. No, we need to have conversations ongoing, casually even, because that's where we get input and we all address the situation for what it is. And even the younger ones and other family members get to understand where we are as a family based on what is happening externally. So even with finances, we needed to make a reshuffle now in terms of where is the money going to?
Yes.
Okay, if kids didn't go to school, some schools didn't pay school fees.
Yes.
You were no longer paying for transport to take the kids to school. As parents, we're at home, cars parked, no petrol to go to work. However, there was a new set of expenses here at home. So we needed now to take a detour and take care of those. But it was going to be difficult if those were unspoken.
And that's not the only financial setback, right, that some of us have gone through, more especially in the last year. Divorce.
Oh, yes.
There is, losing a loved one. There's all these changes that happen with these things, being separated from your loved ones, not having access to certain, things and means anymore, salaries getting slashed.
Yes.
How do we navigate past these moments?
So you're mentioning critical points. So it is around finances, all the cuts and new expenses, but there's a great deal of the emotional side of things that needed to take to be brought forward, because losing a job is a shocking experience. Your system shuts down of the shock. You think of your expenses. You think of the people that rely upon you in terms of financial aid. But you as a human being, as an individual, you were working. You had dreams, you have goals, and now they're all shattered. So there's a complete shock through your system, and we become emotional.
Yeah.
I've heard and read of people that were on the verge of committing suicide because you're thinking my house is going to be repossessed, my car is going to be repossessed, my family is going to go through without food on the table, and all the other financial commitments that we have made. So we need emotional assistance, but we also need coaching in between to say, you are still around, you are still here, you are still standing. All right? You are shocked right now, but okay, let's woosa, let's drink some water, sit down and process this, and then come up with a plan. It's like someone who plunged into a pool or a dam, and you have to pedal, and then you come out like, okay, I'm okay. You take a deep breath, and like, okay, start swimming, swim to the shore. Is that kind of an analogy to say, even with this pandemic, we needed to do that, but for some people, it almost came automatically, depending on how you're wired and the support that you got, but most people are still struggling to this day.
And that's the hardest part. Can you share your own personal experience of a setback?
I can share two. I'll share the first one when I lost. It was drama. It was hectic. So in 2004, in the same year, 7 months of the same year, I had lost 5 people.
Sure.
My mother, my brother-in-law, my husband, my brother, my mother-in-law. 5 of them in the space of 7 months of the same year. I don't know how I survived. Obviously, there are superpowers that came in. But you can imagine how exactly, he is the superpower. So it wasn't just one detour. It was being ripped off, this one, person after person, because all of them had a major role in my entire life. But particularly for my household, after we lost my husband, we had planned to start off a business. I was supposed to leave work. And, we had plans. But all of those were shut, like complete load shedding of life, if I may put it that way. So I quickly had to go back to the drawing board, disconnect and forget about a whole lot of things. I'm a mother. My head is spinning. I have 2 young boys, 10 and 15 at the time. You're thinking about school. You're thinking about their well-being, about myself. My dad has lost his wife. That is my mother. We've just lost a brother. So you're torn apart, very thinly so. So if you don't have a support structure or support structures at work, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, financially, you need all of these, you need all this backing for you to survive. So it was a very difficult journey. But like I said, because of the support that I had and me as a person, always needing to lift yourself up, it is not easy, believe you me. But on the part of life's plans, I had to almost throw away all the cards and continue focused at work so that I can earn an income. The kids must continue with school. At some point, my eldest son, who was 15 and a half, almost 16, he wanted to stop going to school because he thought we weren't going to be able to survive, because we kept saying at home, Mommy does this, Daddy does this. So they knew that we needed both incomes for us to survive. We used to have casual conversations. I wasn't doing financial literacy at the time, or financial education, but we used to have casual financial conversations in the house. When we go out, he would say, you must eat a lot, order expensive things. She's taking us out today, jokingly. And then next time it's him, because that was our arrangement, that this month it's me, it's on me. Although it was from the same pool of money, but it was just a game. And then when it's his turn,
So
it's
they
like,
had the understanding already of
yeah.
who does what in the home, how things are compartmentalized.
And both parents are involved, they're working together.
Yes.
So to him, the loss of the one parent was like, we're going to lose everything. And he says, no, I'm going to stop going to school. I need to find a job just to help you look after the house. I'm like, no, dude. So I had to sit him down, almost on the brink of trying to, almost putting my payslip on the table to say, no, we're going to be okay. Well, it didn't get that far, but as a parent, I lost my cool. Like, it shattered me inside. Like, this child is petrified to that point. So we had to have a sit down and ongoing conversations. That was then. Okay, they're grown now, and we eventually found a way of maneuvering life, just the three of us. Then the next setback was, it became a setback, although it was planned, when I decided to take a plunge and leave corporate and start on my own. Why I needed that, I was doing financial education at the time, but I wanted to speak more to personal aspects more than just finances. I wanted to talk about relationship management, emotional intelligence, and even...
Which are extremely important in finances, as we will talk about later.
Later on, and a whole lot of content for the youth. So I wanted to speak broader than what I did at the time. 2018, I decided to do that. In 2019, I've had things set in motion to say, I've got a contract with this institution, I have a contract with this department, I have a contract here, so that we start, doing financial training. 2019 was the elections.
Yeah.
I did not know how much of an impact the elections will have once you're outside of corporate. When I was employed, business as usual.
Yeah.
Elections will take place, I'm at work, work goes on. But as an entrepreneur, there were a whole lot of things that we now had to pull out and stay still almost for 2019. Then we're like, 2019 is doing its own things. We'll start afresh in 2020.
Oh,
again,
Lord.
Set things in process, in line. Like the pipeline was brewing, with things about to happen. March happened, the lockdown.
Sure.
I was almost paralyzed in my thinking and in my emotions, like, again, I can't do this. This cannot be happening. But then you need to think outside of the box. What am I going to do? This is the second year that this is happening. No one knows how long this is going to stretch for. Well, it's still on to this day.
Look at us now.
You know what I mean? So it's those setbacks that you need then to start thinking and get support and think with people. So I have partners that I work with, and it helps that we coach and encourage each other. But you can imagine about people out there that maybe do not have anyone to speak to.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
And how do they survive? So also in my coaching, I get to hear of other households, how deeply they were disrupted by the lockdown, and some are just not coping.
Yeah.
They've lost loved ones, they lost jobs, income. Now they're about to lose houses, cars. It is a mess. So we really need to be holding each other's hands and helping. Humility, Ubuntu, needs to come back in tenfold.
Absolutely. I'm always like, I don't know how our home would be if it weren't for two incomes, because it's quite strenuous.
It is.
And I think a lot of women are also venturing into side hustles or side businesses because of the need for more than one income, and to not have to depend either on your salary, because there are pros and cons to corporate. Tomorrow we might go into another lockdown.
Yes.
There might be salary cuts.
Yes.
There could be retrenchments. So a side hustle is important in this day and age too. How do I ensure that I manage that side hustle, and I manage the starting up of a side hustle while still in corporate? And what are your thoughts around side hustles and starting up a small business while still full-time employed?
It has been a conversation even in the past years, but the current situation has actually amplified that, has actually amplified the need for a side hustle. One of the contributing factors, even before the lockdown, is now the new lifestyle that most of us lead. It is very expensive. We live in big houses that are expensive, big cars, multiple cars. Kids are going to expensive schools, good schools. The lifestyle we lead, the type of food we eat, the clothes we wear,
Sure.
the engagements and entertainment has changed. And all of this requires financing. So if you're relying solely on your income from work, the risk element is now greater, because that means one mishap, the stack of cards will collapse. It's over. The lockdown has just fast-forwarded and amplified that to no degree, right? So households that have lost income, I know of households that have lost both incomes. They are shattered. But even those that have just lost one, some, it's not a complete loss, it's cut down on work hours, therefore the income is less, because the institution is trying to spread out, evenly for manpower and people to continue working. Those shifts, because we don't have reserves, because we don't have backup plans, they just bring in, complete shock. So the importance of a passive income, a side hustle, has now gone to another level that is almost a must. But how do you choose which stream of business would you go into? You could have a talent, you could have a gift, or you could find an extended need for the services that you're providing at work. Translation is needed, training or educating on other languages. So if you're multilingual, you can make use of that. You could build property. You can do property investment. You can build additional rooms, maybe back a kaya, and rent them out. You can invest into a block of flats and have shares for tenants. There are many things that we need to think of. Uber is one avenue. The other is Mr. Delivery. I've seen a few people that I know, they're no longer going to work, they need an income, they work from home, so in the morning, I do work-related stuff up until 12. After 12, I use my car to...
And I know of a few women during lockdown as well, that my talent is baking. I have my day job, I'm sitting at my desk at home, so when I'm on those breaks, or whilst I'm busy in my meetings, I'm baking in the kitchen, and I use the Uber Eats delivery app to deliver the food.
Yes, so some of them cook small meals for like on Sunday.
I'm catering for my neighbors.
On Sunday, we had a ladies' session at my house, right? Because we couldn't go and book a venue. Very few, I think about 10, we exercised social distancing and everything, and someone that owns a catering company came and cooked for us while we were talking. She got a job. It was small, it was beautiful, and we watched her cook, so it was a conversation over a 5-meal course. It was beautiful. So we are forced to start thinking outside of the box. So a side hustle is needed. Now that the cheese has moved, the cheese has moved. Now we need to be adaptable. We need to adjust and do things in line with the movement and the demand of the economy, the demand of the lifestyle, the demand of the universe.
And it's going to be ever-changing. We need to stay agile and light on our feet.
Exactly. So the choice is critical. Which route are you going to choose? What are your strengths? What opportunities do you see in front of you? But also do not, for those that are working from home, do not jeopardize, your formal employment. You don't want your side hustle to now impact negatively, because production will tell, hey, that she's no longer focused now. And that will create a new set of problems.
And we need to also, I feel as though we need to demystify this idea of downsizing. And going back to living within our means. Why are we so scared of downsizing? Earlier on, we spoke, pre the shoot, we spoke about, going from your German car to a smaller car, going from your 5-bedroom house to a smaller house. Why are we so scared?
It's multi-pronged, the reasons. It's me as a human being. I need to coach and have conversations with myself. Reality dictates that I do that. I'm taking this action in line with my plans or in line with the demand of life. If I've lost a job, or I've lost my income, or my financial load has grown and I need to reduce my expenses so that the bit that I have will be spread out evenly to cover all the necessary expenses that I need to take care of, maybe I need to do that. So it starts with self, that the pressure from outside, I need to deal with it and acknowledge. But for some people, there's no pressure. It is just them taking a decision. You know what? We're living in this big house. There's only the three of us. Maybe kids have grown and this and that. The space is wasted. Maybe let's move to a more compatible house, compact, that is enough for us. It's going to release us some money. Then we take a portion of it, clear the debt, pay off the cars, invest, and live happily thereafter. So we could have taken that decision for ourselves as a family, but to the outside people, it's like, ooh, bawil. Oh, there's a problem. It's bad. So we need to be at the point where we are matured to understand that it is our decision. And even if ngiwile, I'm taking care of the situation by myself. Leave me alone, please. Can I just remedy my situation in the best way I know how, right? So if I'm downscaling, you do not know the reasons why I'm downscaling. I said to you earlier on, after my husband passed away, I have 2 boys. The eldest one has moved out. He's married, he has a place of his own. I'm left with the younger one. He might be ducking anytime soon. Do I need a big house? No, I need a, right?
Yes.
So I might be downscaling into a nice, compatible, like compact house for just me and my son. How it's going to look to the outside world, and easy.
It's got nothing to do with them.
I am not there. Right?
It's a lot of internal work.
That's why I said it starts internally, and for me to actually plan and think and take a decision, I need to do this for these reasons. And even if ngwile, I get it, you're not helping me in my process of weeing.
Yes.
Can I?
Are you going to pay my bond with?
And resuscitate myself? So if it means I downscale, property-wise, cars, lifestyle, I move my kids from this school to the next. Can we just respect each other and actually support each other as opposed to pointing fingers and laughing at other people?
And congratulate each other on the brave decisions we made.
It is very brave, isn't it? Right? Absolutely. So that is us being matured and being responsible. Because I tell you right now, there are so many houses that I also have a second passion that I follow after financial coaching and educating. I love property.
Me too.
So I've just qualified as a real estate or a realtor. So I'm into property now. Let me tell you, every week when we get that list of distressed property, houses that are about to be repossessed or that are in the process of repossession, it is painful.
It is.
So for one to stop that so that they don't lose their house, I'll rather move to a smaller property, right? Or whatever means I need to apply or implement, can I just be left alone to do what I need to do?
And it's traumas. I mean, I see a lot of trauma as well there in loss, in attaching letting go to loss.
Yes.
And it's a lot, like we said, it's a lot of internal work. And we can't talk about, financial setbacks without actually talking about some of the setbacks that we actually walk ourselves into sometimes.
Oh, yes.
So
there's life and there's us.
There's us.
There's us.
Like
self-made.
Financing that boyfriend's car. Yes. Or standing surety for my friend's accounts. Or a loan account for a friend or an uncle or a cousin.
So it could be stemming from willingness to help. Ubuntu, humanity, and it could be from pressure. Perhaps I'm pressurized to take care of uncle's house and mommy's house and my siblings' children and my siblings themselves who are unemployed and the whole ilali long that's almost looking for assistance from me. It could be from bad decisions from my side because I do not plan for my own finances, I do not budget, then I spend unguided,
Yes.
and boom, certain things almost befall me. It could all be in the name of love, where I feel, I can afford most another car, let's buy another car for Ubay. Or I take this one, I give it to Ubay, I buy myself another car, and life happens. Maybe we separate, or it's written off, or whatever. We know stories, but the debt remains. A contributing factor to that would be the misunderstanding or lack of understanding how insurances work. Insurance is not an investment. It is you taking care of life, taking precautionary measures for the what if. Should it happen, I have a backup. With the financial constraint that most people are going through, often one of the first things that we let go are policies.
Sure, yeah, that is. Yeah.
For property, for content, life cover, medical aid, funeral covers, and. Murphy's Law, most of the time, as soon as you cancel it, something happens. So we need to be financially informed so that we're able to make the right decisions. So if you need to cut down financially, know where and how, as opposed to just abandoning your policies and walking away from them and walk away from money and walk away from protection. But back to the decisions that we make. So if I am now splurging just for people to see that I can, and I want to be elevated and be glorified and feel good, it's a problem, because then I need to have many resources to be able to take care of myself, my current and my future plans if I have. We all need to have plans and goals. And also then taking care of everybody else that will be coming your way to be asking for assistance. So at times it calls for that decline with respect and factually, so to say, Mommy, I'm sorry, I cannot transfer 500 Rand. That brings me to black tax. It's an emotional and deep conversation for most people, the black tax concept. My understanding of it is it's a global phenomenon, but it happens and it's administered and it has different weights and stings differently from culture to culture, nation to nation, household to household. Because there are youngsters that assist financially at home and they are comfortable, because there's been conversations to say, how much can you afford? And the youngster says, Mommy, I can put away 800 Rand every month that I can send to you guys. Please adjust your means to be around their amount. Cool, happiness, everyone is happy. But there are situations where the youngsters feel throttled from the demands, ridiculous demands at times, never-ending demands at times, from immediate household and extended family and everyone around, the neighborhood, to say, no, my child is working. What do you don't have meal at your house? Eunice?
Here's my child's number.
Eunice, 2 kg apple. Actually 2 kg. No, bring it 5. Bring it 5 kg. Must toilet, don't worry. Don't worry, Eunice is coming. She's on her way. Is this from love? Mommy volunteering my services and financial services for me to aid out or help out? Is it Mommy not understanding what that means and does to my finances and my plans? Or is Mommy just gloating that my child can help you out? Regardless of which it is, it impacts negatively on the youngster who now, out of nowhere, has to make financial means to help out on something that she or he didn't plan for. But Mommy or aunt or uncle or my sister has already made a commitment on my behalf. And I've seen most families, the relationship is cracking because of that pressure. That you guys don't understand that I have my own financial obligations that I need to plan for every month.
And the lack of respect for those boundaries.
The lack of respect for the boundaries. But most painfully is the expectation. Like, how can you say you don't have money? Like kanjani? Uthini? Uthini?
Nje.
What are you trying to say?
And ukufundisa ngasebenzi.
You know, so it's understanding those, the feelings, the implications of commitments on behalf of other people, the demands. I was making an example earlier that one of the youngsters that I'm coaching, her mom wanted a credit card. So this child qualified. She took out a second credit card on her name, but it's in the purse and under the usage of mommy. Mommy is swiping her life away.
Sure.
No care in the world. She has to service the installments over and above everything else that she does for herself and for the household. So when she says to mommy, "Khawume kancinci, mama, can't stop," like, for what? Uyaphangela nje, kanti ndikhuliseleni. So mommy would be swiping for her neighbors and her friends and for herself and everybody because Eunice is paying the card. Is it that mommy doesn't understand the financial implications of her behavior, or does she care, or is it a bit of both? It requires a sit down.
And, you know, what you're saying is so relatable because I think we carry on those generational traumas and they manifest in our finances because we also don't want to have to hurt to mom.
Yes.
I don't want to hurt to mom. I don't want
And
to,
we want the best for mom.
Yes.
At the same
She broke her back to get me to where I am.
She did. For who I have become today.
However, 20,000 credit card.
Do you know, and mommy must take care of, mommy must enjoy life because for the better part, she was
broke her
working,
back.
she broke her back for us. But there's a conversation that needs to happen to say, mommy, can we stop at this? There's a cap that I'm comfortable with because remember, every month I pay for this month. So if you spend X amount every month, I'm okay.
Because it never starts and ends with mommy alone.
No,
That trauma
it
carries on
doesn't.
because then it becomes mommy and somebody else too.
Yes.
Because you always then feel the need to always be taken care of.
Yeah. And then you have other siblings or other family members shipping off their children to come and live with you.
Ewe kaloku. If you
Because
can
you can
service a
afford.
20,000 rand credit card,
You can service the whole Lalimos.
ewe.
So, you know, and in some families, they feel horror. You can never even think of saying no. You cannot.
Yeah.
That's not how we do things. And then you live with this one's child and you live with this one. So where is this person's future and plans and goals and limitations?
I mean, this brings me to the next question. I first want to read you this stat. An online survey of South African women published by Sanlam found that 72% of women consider themselves to be living in survival mode, on autopilot.
Autopilot.
This obviously breeds the potential for high debt,
Yes.
frustrations, a lot of depression, anxiety, not knowing where the next paycheck is going to come from. Well, knowing when the next paycheck is going to come from, but knowing where it's going immediately.
It's gone.
By the time it comes
Yes.
in.
Yes.
How, you know, if I am currently surviving on survival mode and I am on this autopilot, where do I start today?
It starts with a sit down with self. It starts with a meeting, Eunice having a meeting with Eunice. Soberly so, calmly, try and calm yourself down. You need to take stock of the current situation and see how bad it is.
How do I overcome that? And I hear a lot of women saying, you see, budget you are man. That one, and that's the most daunting thing.
It is.
And that's where you need to start. But it's tough.
Unfortunately, we need to bring ourselves to admit, I need to start, because that process is going to show you exactly how bad things are. Maybe they're not as bad as you think they are. You know, when you are drowning, maybe you're only ankle deep, and when you feel horror, it's up by the waist. But when you actually have that situation, like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it is. But
There's
it's
a way
because
out.
there's a way out. The opposite is also possible. That I'm thinking I'm knee in, Gandhi, I need that meeting with myself, that reality check to see how deep it is. Cry and be emotional about it, but now you know where you stand. Tomorrow, you wake up and like, okay, fine. Can I just take care of this situation?
Yes.
You need your 3 months bank statements at least, pen and paper, tissues, water, hlala phansi, and
Tissues
look
are
at
important.
very important because you're going to need them. Water, clean water.
Clean water.
Clean water, you're going to need a lot of that.
Light a
But
candle whilst you're at it.
whatever it is that's going to make the situation, the mood, you
Yes.
know, okay. But that exercise, guys, we need to, because
It's self-care.
It's
That is
self-care.
actually self-care.
You know, it's like someone who hasn't been cutting their toenails in a very long time, and someone says, let's soak you in a dish of water so that the nails can go soft, but we need to clip them off.
Yes.
You know, and once that exercise is over, you're like, phew, yeah, actually.
Yeah. What a
But
relief.
yes, so it's something that it's taking care of something that has been neglected for a while. It requires some tough love. It requires some, you know, gloves in and being hard on it, and then thereafter, like, it's maintenance now.
Yes.
That meeting is essential. And once we've cracked through that, we see what the reality is. We're like, okay, fine. So now I need to come up with a plan. And out of that, unfortunately, we're going to identify a whole lot of unnecessary expenses, quite a bit of debt, and wastages. So that's why we need now to separate needs versus wants.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's easy for us to tell this to children. But Mina, because I'm the captain, I can convert a need into a want into a need, right? I can want to need it. Because I'm the captain. The card is mine. I call the shots. Bathong, ke tla bona plan next month.
Yes.
And that's where the trouble begins. Because we don't have a budget that says from this total of income, these are my expenses, and actually, it's getting too tight. Maybe I should cut down on groceries, then I should cut down on this, because I now am allocating the funds I am giving them priority.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And then I'll see, change, what else can we do?
And I found that children actually participate well in this.
If they're invited,
They participate so well in this.
and teach them to be part of the conversation, because they are part of the expense in the house.
Yeah.
Right? They are a living expense in the house. So educate them. They may not have the cash to contribute, but they contribute indirectly, taking care of the food, not to be wasteful, taking care of their uniform and clothes, taking care of water and electricity, and teach them to be responsible with their toys. If you break it, you're going to wait 4 months before I'm able to buy another one.
Yeah.
You already has told this child, I cannot afford to break this toy. And subtle conversation, not threats, but subtle conversations for them to think, okay, so mommy and daddy have to accumulate money first before they can buy something else.
Yeah.
So household conversations are very important. During the lockdown, let's talk. Because somebody was saying to me, I was hoping that since we're not going to work anymore, I'll be saving on petrol money, I'll be saving on kids' transport money.
I thought so too. I genuinely thought so too. I thought, sonke silapa, no more takeaways.
I'm short.
No more going out.
I'm more short now than when I was going to work.
Exactly.
Because the expenses have taken a different direction. So have the conversation and identify the new direction now, the pattern at home, and therefore how to best address it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've spoken now about like the first steps towards financial recovery. But then what are the common mistakes that we do make along the way of that financial recovery?
The discipline, lack of discipline.
So we don't have a follow-through.
We don't have a follow-through. We do not understand or apply what is common to other people, particularly other races, if I may be racial, because the upbringing and the approach to money is different. Other races and nations speak freely around money and planning and finances and expenses at home. We don't, the most of us. Some families do, right? It's not everybody, but the majority of us, we don't. Now, we need to start there to say, let's have a conversation and plan. So conversing around finances is having an understanding of the amount that comes in, the income, and the total that goes out. Living within your financial means expenses should be less than the income. Then you have goals. What are you, all of you, aspiring to see happening? What are your desires? You can even plot them like slot. Have fun. What do you want to do when you are 10? What do you want to see happening when you are 20? I want daddy to have a new car. Okay, new car. A big house, a swimming pool. Make it fun, and then tunnel it down to
how we can get there.
Yes, and prioritize to say, okay,
this is an amazing exercise to actually start doing vision boarding with the family.
It can be
financial vision boarding.
Financial vision boarding, and you are educating these children to say, we can actually talk about sensitive matters, but in a very casual manner. But gradually, as time progresses, age appropriate, of course, you're now saying, all right, fine. mommy and daddy can have their own meeting to say, all right, babes, you have this much, I have this much, so the total is X amount, the total of expenses, cut down here, move here. Budget to save. Do not save from a change. Let saving and investing have its own line item as if you're paying a debt. That's how you make sure that it does happen. Entertainment and other things will come from the change if there's change.
Yes.
But let's learn to prioritize on the most important factors of our lives. So from the goals come the planning. We plan, give it timelines and the amount. You need to build a wall in 2 years' time. How much is it going to cost you to build that wall? And currently, how much can you spare or save in a month? Therefore, you do the maths.
Yes.
It's going to take me this long to raise X amount for this project.
Yeah.
All right? And all of it can happen and involve your children as well. When you're planning to go away for a holiday, for instance, you tell them, where do you want us to go? 3 places, give me 3 venues, give them an option to choose. Then you say, okay, this year we can afford this one. And we're going to need X amount. From your pocket money, how much can you spare?
Yeah.
So that when you go away, you have a little bit of money of your own to do whatever you want when you're on holiday. You've
just empowered them now.
This child is going to say, I can't waste my pocket money.
Yes.
Or you could say, I'm giving you 10 rand every day. How much exactly do you need? Maybe the child doesn't know. And you say, I want to see on a daily basis how much change you can bring back. And I'll put it away for you. You've just done a serious mind shift for this child. And the concept around money, we were talking about money values earlier on. Most of our children don't understand.
Most of us
Most
don't
of
understand.
us don't even, I go to work every day, I get
We know
paid
there are
month
rules and
end.
regulations at work about money,
Yeah.
for example.
At work, there's a process that needs to
if
be
you want to take
followed.
out petty cash, there's a process.
Somebody needs to
Yeah.
sign it off and they can decline if they want.
But at home,
Who declines my own swiping? It's
Swipe,
my
budget.
money. I swipe as I feel. And then come month end, I feel mugged.
yeah. And then I want to now bring it back to exactly, that feeling of mugged means we are not financially grounded. What does the term financially grounded mean? And in the context of our homes, in the middle of this pandemic, what does financially grounded mean?
Being grounded is knowing, having the knowledge, acquiring the skill to manage this, and keeping to it.
Okay.
The discipline of knowing or right, no wrong. The discipline of saying, I cannot spend more than 200 rand for this particular expense, whatever it is. I always say, I was telling you that we were training youngsters the whole of last week, preparing them, for employment. And I say to them, do you budget when you are about to go out namajita on a Friday evening or Saturday? Oh, ma'am, no, budget for Ntoni, it's entertainment. Like, okay, so you can blow however much. Ma'am, zabona Monday, man, I'll see you on Monday. Wow. No, but I need, we're in the mood. We're in the, you can't now tell me, Hore, I must remember how now spend 377 rand. And no, it's spoiling the mood. Then we did the financial education session and we had the conversation again to say, are you still gonna count the 377 rand? So the one says, no, next time when I go out, I leave my card at home, I withdraw 500 rand or 300 rand, and that's all I have on me. Yes. And once it's done, it's done. So it's changing the concept. So when he says, now that I understand that I cannot be wasting all my money on one sitting all over the weekend, I'll therefore leave my credit card at home, maybe draw a cash, 300 rand or however much that I'm comfortable with just for that particular weekend. Because then they have come to realize that there's much more to my money than just this entertainment. Actually, I should be planning for long-term goals around finances.
And that's what our mothers were telling us all this time.
True.
It's about the long term.
Yes.
And whilst we're still on long term, let's talk about long-term financial planning, because we seem to have this, it's an overwhelming sense of it's pressure to plan for the long term while still just trying to survive day to day, right? How do we manage the two, together at the same time?
It is very important. It might feel like a bit of pressure, but if we are now in the discipline of budgeting every month, you've set your goals, those dreams that we have, And we then have cut them down and trimmed them down to, now I need to plan. So what are you planning for? And you give it timelines. Your plans must have timelines, so they're short, medium, and long term, right? But parallel to you pedaling on a daily basis and monthly. So the exercise of pedaling daily and monthly is very important, because this is where you make or break your future plans. If you don't manage them and plan and are disciplined now, those will never happen.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that. That will never, because the money, the channeling of money is critical, yeah. So you look after your day-to-day, you buy your bread and milk every day, you buy veggies for the weekend, you pay for school fees, you do this every month, you know how this is channeled, because part of those expenses, you're putting money away for your future plans, short, medium, and long term. And there's this lovely component that I wish we could all understand of. We always talk about investing. When you say to people, let's talk about finances, what investment vehicles are out there? It is not all about investing.
Yeah.
You need to plan. But investing and saving go hand in hand. The common thread between the two is they are both, the common action is you're putting money away. But for saving, it's short and liquid, short term, and very liquid, because you can access it and use it at any time. Investing is medium to long term. Now, understand your needs from your goals and your plans, and put it in your budget that for this project that requires X amount for this long, every month I need to contribute so much for it. A typical example would be a life cover policy.
Yeah.
You're going to pay that for a very long time, so that you're ensuring that should I get knocked down by a bus one day, there's a lump sum of money that's going to be paid out to my children or whoever the beneficiaries are, for them to continue living. It's a long-term plan, but I need to make sure that every single month it's taken care for. It's entertained. Retirement is another aspect that we kind of are losing, and we don't have enough pension funds.
Yeah.
Retirement annuity, to make sure that at the end of my working, when I decide to retire, I'm comfortable. What works against that is that if for as long as we haven't gotten a tight grip of our finances and we're busy accumulating debt, the total sum of my debt is going to be chowing my payouts, and I'll be left out with very little.
Yeah.
I might not fulfill the dreams that I've had. You know, so it requires a very tight balancing act right now. It may seem daunting, but speak to someone who is in the habit of budgeting. For them, it's like brushing their teeth every day. Okay, so we need to come to the point where we do it, we force ourselves to do it regularly, to a point where it becomes habit. It'll take a couple of months, believe you me. It'll take a couple of months, and before you know it, you now know, or no, I actually cannot pay. You'll be disciplining yourself. How many takeaways have you had this month?
It's done now.
Because now something is going to be running short.
I think a lot of people get overwhelmed because we have more, like you mentioned, there's so much debt. And if you're in a corporate environment, you are working and you've accumulated this debt, whilst you've also got your retirement fund going, you've got a little bit of savings, and it's just, is it not the anxiety of either way? The retirement,
You can change that though. You can flip the slate and correct it if we do things well. So for now, let's spend less on unnecessary stuff. Let's spend less on entertainment. I'm not saying we should not live.
Yes.
I am not saying we should not have entertainment, but be mindful of how much you need to spend on entertainment versus these other killer debts that we have. So let's aim to reduce and come to a point where we kill the debt. We can actually kill debt and be left with necessary debts, what we refer to as good debt. And some people don't believe that a home loan is a good debt, but that's a conversation for another day. So you can be left with necessary debts, but kill the other debts that we actually can live without, so that you start channeling that money to other aspects of life, future for your children. Say you have 3 children, age 6, 10, and 14.
Yes.
Have you got financial resources and planning for their tertiary education? The 14-year-old is left with 4 years before they go to tertiary. How much do you have allocated for them?
The 6-year-old is going to primary school.
The 6-year-old is going to primary school now. And the 10-year-old is about to leave primary into high school. Where is your financial plan for these 3 youngsters.
Hey, sizobona.
You see, then abazubona nto aba bantwana. Abazubona next because this one matriculates, he or she is going to be staying at home because
And
there was
even
no
if
plan.
it's they make it into school or they get into school, now you find a mom scraping to try and just
For
get a
dear
stationery,
life.
a uniform,
Yes.
stressed, complaining imali. And now we're building a generation of financially insecure children
Yes.
because we're living scraping.
Yeah. Actually, regardless of how much or how little you have, if you plan and spend within your means, you can live comfortably. Within your parameters, your financial parameters, you can be comfortable. We just need to know and get into the discipline of planning for how much I need and therefore what. Even domestic workers, blue-collar workers, they do entertain themselves within their measures because they know how much they have. I find people, and I'm going to make this example, that are living a very high...
I feel like my domestic at our home has better financial acumen than I have.
They are disciplined because they know that they're limited. And they actually have more savings than we do. So we borrow from them. During the month, I run out of petrol money and I
She
find...
always has cash.
We do that, right? I hear when we have financial conversations, they're like, I didn't have petrol money. Rose, I got it from Rose.
True.
And Rose is watching a movie here at home. Why is Rose is watching a movie, right?
She's like,
Because
Abba.
yeah. So we have those that maybe we have overstretched our financial limitations, and now we're scraping. But we can reverse that. Let us reverse. Like someone who was driving to a particular destination and you realize that you're lost, you need to make a U-turn.
And that's the tough part.
But you have to. I
That's a tough call out
always
because-
make an example with a delivery truck. They cannot go to a route that is not taking them to where they're supposed to deliver. That delivery is somebody's waiting for it. Whether he can, have you ever seen an 18-wheeler trying to make a U-turn?
It'll jackknife.
It will jackknife, and sometimes you are required to reverse when at the four-way stop.
Yes.
For him to be able to have space to, but a U-turn he must, because he has just realized that actually this is where I'm supposed to be, and I was facing that way. Now you'd find for your financial U-turn, it could be a Mini Cooper nyana, like shui, you're not too far in, or it could be that how much ton your truck, you know, that truck that delivers the bread. It's not too big, but it's also not a sedan. Yeah, it requires 2 turns nyana than it does. An 18-wheeler can take up to 10 minutes. Everyone will have to stop for them to be able to make that.
There's absolutely no shortcut.
There is no shortcut, but he realized that he has to. He'll be sweating thereafter, but now he's facing the right direction and he's happy.
And his relief.
If we think about that around our finances and do whatever it is that we need to make sure that we're now facing the right direction, in no time, you will cool down and you actually will be smiling and you'll pat yourself on the shoulder like, okay, fine.
And this is your approach as you're educating us and
Yes.
as you're educating your clients during financial training.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
And we need to bring it to reality. Let's not talk textbook stuff. Let's bring it to the how for me and you and the next person. How are you wired here? What does finances mean to you? Do you even know your financial personality? What is your background contributing to how you engage with finances now? What are your financial values? So we talk about those so that at the end of it all, once we've done cleaning the slate and now we understand ourselves, Kana, what does that chapter in the textbook say? Let us now apply that. But there's a bit of groundwork that it's not difficult. We just need to have the conversations so that when you go home, you're like, oh, now I know
Now I understand.
why I like retail therapy.
Absolutely. Releases some endorphins.
Right? And we come back with more expenses. And we're back to square one. So we just need to know the how. And we're not saying you should not go shopping, but it should be guided.
Yeah.
Then you'll be happy.
Where can we find you?
The name is Eunice Sibiya, an independent financial coach. I'm a speaker, a motivator, a trainer. My company is called Sibiya Coaching. So I am on sibiyacoaching@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This was so, I feel relieved. I feel empowered to go do the work that I need to do.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
It was lovely being with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Sit Down Womenomics. I learned so much. I feel empowered. I feel like I'm going to go light my candle. I'm going to take out my notebook. I'm going to have my glass of water and my tissues, and I will do my financial audit and get back to where I need to be. Thank you, Eunice Sibiya. Join us next time. Thank you.
Pleasure.